and welcome to the Royal Beat Collection with me, Russell Myers. In this show, we'll take you to the heart of royal matters, ably assisted by royal experts in the know. The royals are off to Scotland for their annual summer break, and we uncover their love for the nation.
Now, this week, we've seen the King travel up to Scotland alongside Queen Camilla, which, of course, he's done many times before. However, this was the first time of him doing it since the coronation in May, making this visit one of great historical significance. The occasion was therefore marked on Wednesday with a special celebration called a National Service of Thanksgiving and Dedication. And it was a bit like a Scottish coronation, featuring plenty of pomp and ceremony and jewels that we've come to expect from such a moment. In fact, it seemed like quite a grand affair in its own way. So, Gareth, what exactly does this service represent? Is it a mini Scottish coronation?
Yes, you can call it any number of variations, but it is, to all intents and purposes, a coronation. There hasn't been one of a separate King of Scots or Queen of Scots since the 17th century.
Wow.
But this regalia that they're using is the oldest set of crown jewels in the British Isles because...
Stone of Destiny, was that there?
It was there, it was. Very good. And also...
The most ancient of all.
It is the most ancient of all of them. Its origin story is that it was alleged, when it first appeared in the Middle Ages, centuries ago, the Stone of Destiny was allegedly the stone on which the biblical figure Jacob dreamt his heavenly vision. It's now generally not considered that it is. It's no longer considered a biblical artifact, but it is so important to Scotland's sense of identity that it's acquired influence and sort of totemic emotional importance beyond what it actually is.
I mean, Matt, when you were there, did it have the same sense of occasion and emotion as the coronation?
It was actually a welcome relief from the coronation. If you see Charles at the coronation, he looked stressed, he looked a bit glum, he looked like the weight of the world was on his shoulders that he had to perform. Here, they were relaxed, they were happy, he was smiling. The music was incredible. I don't know if you got the chance to listen to it, but he had a role in, I think, 5 newly commissioned songs throughout the ceremony.
He carried on certain things from the coronation, including using non-English languages off the Union. The song, one of the new hymns commissioned is in Doric, which is the dialect in the far northeast of Scotland, where his grandmother kept the Castle of May, which he inherited, and apparently the Queen Mother and the Queen could both speak Doric.
He's devilish in his detail, isn't he? But he was also accompanied by the Duke and Duchess of Rothesay. How do we better know them?
They would be Kate and William or Prince and Princess of Wales down here, but of course up there. And you can see that sense of...
So this is their Scottish title, the Duke and Duchess of Rothesay.
Exactly, exactly that. And we've got Kate here in that kind of Scottish blue from the Scottish flag. She always dresses so well, doesn't she? And this is the sense of joy, I think, that Matt was talking about. There was definitely moments of kind of, kids sniggering in the pews, like you used to do at church when you were a kid.
No children there this time. They were the only family members representing, right?
Absolutely, it was slimmed down, I think, but there was more of a sense, there was a great sense of kind of old and new coming together in terms of tradition, but in a modern setting. So the Queen was criticised in 1953 when she had her sort of Scottish, presented with the honours of Scotland, because she turned up in a sort of hat carrying a handbag, whereas there was more of a sense of maybe respect, I don't know, to the tradition here with, the robes that you can see with the King and Queen and the Duke of Rothesay, as we know him, north of the border, and the Stone of Destiny as well. So that was different. In this ceremony for the King, the Stone of Destiny was within the cathedral, which it wasn't actually for the Queen's, the same ceremony that happened in Scotland for the Queen in 1953. Yes, so we're actually, in some ways, Charles is bringing back that kind of the significance of the historical, the Scottish element, even more so. And he's very respectful of that, I think, because, of course, since 1953, the Union's in a different place. We've had talks about referendums, and even in his Dumfries house, the Ayrshire mansion that he's saved for the nation, he's got in the allotment at the back, he's done it in the Union flag.
You're watching the Royal Beat Collection. We'll be back right after this short break. Explore our shows on True Royalty TV, the only on-demand channel devoted to the best documentaries about royalty. They left the royal family for a life in California. Chart the highs and lows of their departure in Harry and Meghan, The Rise and Fall. Uncover how Princess Catherine was mentored by the late Queen in Kate and the Queen, A Special Relationship. What will the future hold for the Wales' eldest son when he ascends the throne? Find out in Prince George, A King for the Future. You can get this and more only on True Royalty, the home of Royal TV. Lots more still to come on the Royal Beat collection.
The royals are on their holidays at the moment. The Queen is at Balmoral, where over the coming weeks she'll be hosting members of her own family, welcoming them to her vast, beautiful private estate in the Scottish Highlands with all of the, well, privacy that it affords. How long will the Queen traditionally be at Balmoral, Richard?
Well, she's normally there for 6 weeks, although in the past it has been as long as 10 weeks, up until mid-October. But normally these days, as she's got older, she tends to spend 6 weeks there.
So, I mean, this is rare, isn't it? It's the only time in her otherwise very busy calendar, certainly as a working royal, that she ever got to stop for that period of time, Duncan.
Yes, I mean, the Queen is the royals really are creatures of habit in many ways, and you'll almost be able to set your calendar by when the Queen will be at Balmoral, and obviously at Sandringham at Christmas and Windsor at Easter. But it really is the Balmoral estate where I think the Queen has recharged her batteries every year. But of course, when we still had the Royal Yacht Britannia, I think there was always part of the Scottish trip where they would tour the Western Isles on board, and that was the Queen's passion. But when that was removed many years ago, Balmoral became the summer destination for Her Majesty.
Well, Princess Eugenie says of Balmoral, it is the most beautiful place on earth. I think Granny is the most happy there. She really loves the Highlands. And in fact, she wrote to her mother many, many years ago saying, it's heaven up here. Now, Ingrid, you know a lot about this place. You wrote in your book about Philip that it was at Balmoral that Philip actually proposed to the Queen in 1946.
It certainly was, and I wish we knew more detail. It has never been revealed how he proposed to her.
Has it not?
We don't know for sure, and we'd love to know, but I don't think we ever will.
Let's talk about the history of the estate and what it meant to other members of the royal family. The Queen's grandfather, King George V, said, I'm never so happy as when I'm fishing the pools of the Dee, which is the river that runs through the estate. And he passed this on to his son, the Queen's father, Bertie, didn't he?
He certainly did. Well, they were all completely obsessed with sport and shooting. And of course, at Balmoral, you've got grouse shooting and stalking, which is they crawl up the hills and shoot stags, cull stags, because there are so many deer there. They need to be culled, and it's quite a scientific process. So that is the main thrust, and then of course there's fishing, and they all love fishing. Queen Mother loved fishing, Prince Philip, the Queen, and obviously it's been passed on to William and Harry, and presumably now Prince George.
Yeah, I mean, as children, Elizabeth recalls the complete freedom of Balmoral. But actually, it was Queen Victoria who bought the estate back in 1852 for private family holidays. And as always, she had a husband that was always on hand with a renovation plan, didn't she, Richard? And in he came and pimped the place up.
Well, he certainly did more than pimping it up, I think. Albert always had some very grand schemes for improving the living arrangements of the royal family. Yes, he was a visionary in many ways.
But first of all, they pulled it down, didn't they?
They did. They pretty much knocked down what existed there.
Yeah, it's largely a Victorian building.
It is.
But apparently it was a little bit small. One guest commented that when the party played billiards every evening after the Queen, Victoria and her mother, they would sit down with them. They were seated very nearby. They constantly had to get up and move out of the way when the kids were playing billiards. So it was really Albert who kind of took the reign on this one and said, right, OK, let's build something much, much bigger. And boy, did he.
One of the biggest changes that's happened on the Balmoral estate over the years, post-Diana, I think at the time of Diana, I think they must have gone round, worked out every photograph that was taken and just planted as many trees as they can.
Do you remember when there was a story about Diana was fishing on the River Dee with Prince Charles, or she was standing there, he was fishing, and she caught the glimpse of a lens, I think it was probably Arthur and James, and she looked in her makeup mirror behind her, and she saw the photographers there. So they were always really aware about being photographed, and that's why, of course, we have so many lovely photographs of them fishing and at Balmoral.
Lots more still to come on the Royal Beat collection, but first, find out what else you could watch on True Royalty TV.
True Royalty TV is the only on-demand channel devoted to royalty. Join me, Lawrence Llewellyn-Bowen, on the Royal Beat Book Club, the series which reviews the best royal books in print Dive into June Wollerton's book and get bunting ready to discover pomp and pageantry at its finest in our history of royal jubilees. Author Craig Brown presents a different side to Queen Elizabeth in A Voyage Around the Queen. Turn the pages of Tiffany Jenkins' book exploring the history and current state of privacy and how it impacts the monarchy in royal private lives. You can watch all episodes of the Royal Beat Book Club only on True Royalty, the home of Royal TV.
You're watching the Royal Beat Collection. The royals are off to Scotland for their annual summer break, and we uncover their love for the nation.
Prince William and Princess Catherine followed in the footsteps of the King and Queen and celebrated their 14th wedding anniversary by spending the day at work. The Waleses were in the Hebrides for 2 days, and this trip was also the first time Catherine has stayed and done a visit overnight since her cancer diagnosis. And Russ, thank you for taking one for the team.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Well,
you accompanied them.
I may have been saying something different if it was pouring down with rain, but I mean,
it was glorious, wasn't it?
Absolutely glorious part of the world. I'd never been to the Inner Hebrides before, but you just saw it was sort of landscape after landscape, absolutely glorious. And of course, William and Kate had been there before. They visited 20 years ago. I was having a chat with an old couple who used to run one of the cottages that you see behind us, the little red one, and William came in and asked to use a computer to check his exam results in his second year at university.
They were there in their student years, in the early stages of their romance.
Yes.
They went away with friends,
yep.
hired a house, which was, once word got out that he was there with a potential partner,
Yep.
I mean, one local recited jumping up and down on a trampoline trying to see into their rental.
Yeah, he did, and they were asking him, so what did you remember from here? And he said, I may have had a few ciders during that weekend, so I can't really remember much. But you know, what we were seeing here is there was a lot of PDA, actually. I mean, you don't normally see that from the royals.
Shall I translate? That's public displays.
Which we do not normally expect from members of the royal family.
Seeing
but
it more and more from this pair
I
now,
think
aren't
so,
we?
you know, and they were having a great time. And Kate was exuberantly speaking about her new hobby.
Which is?
Beekeeping. So she's now keeping bees at Admiral Hall, at the Sandringham Estate.
Meghan does it too? They do.
Well, it's all the rage, apparently, and so does David Beckham.
David Beckham, King Charles.
Yes,
yeah.
yeah.
I feel so left out.
Oh, yeah. If you're not
fly
keeping
spot.
bees, you're no one these days. But she was having a great chat with this lady who was an independent beekeeper, she said.
Well, I
talking
guess
about the hives.
listen, she works a lot in the charity sector around conservation, and she's got the land for it.
Well, and what have we seen over the last few months talking about nature, how they have absolutely immersed themselves, not only Kate, but the whole family immersed themselves in nature. That has been a great healer for them. And she also said she got a chainsaw for Christmas. I mean, what do you get the woman that has everything, I suppose?
chainsaw?
A chainsaw. Now we know.
Listen, if you take pride in your hedges, as I'm sure she does,
She does.
I speak as one. I get it.
I'm
There's nothing
wondering
quite
now.
like a Sunday afternoon with a chainsaw. Also, a lovely moment with a holiday maker who was there, James Thornton, who came in and well, what did he say to
Well, he just said, from one cancer survivor to another, and it was a really sweet moment, actually. What was interesting about this trip, when we ever travel around the country, around the world with the royals, the public are normally kept behind metal barriers. There was no such thing on this little mini tour, I suppose, because there's less than 3,000 people on the Isle of Mull. People were just milling around, coming in and out of shops, going up to them, and everybody seemed very relaxed, from Prince and Princess of Wales to their security team, and it really made for a really top couple of days.
But lovely to know as well about their early days spent there, having hopefully just a weekend with mates where they could let their hair down, drink a bit of
lives,
cider.
right? Different lives.
And lovely that they went back there as well to celebrate on this anniversary, and it's such a gorgeous part of the world. I've been there when I was a little girl and I loved it.
It really is
It's
gorgeous.
just beautiful.
And they rented a cottage again to spend their anniversary night.
Self-catered.
Self-catered cottage.
They felt that this is something.
I
isn't
was
it?
told diplomatically that they both did the cooking for their anniversary. There was-
She
One
showed
guy
off her
did the whole
barbecue
island.
skills, though, didn't she?
She
Barbecuing
did.
some
Yeah,
haggis.
Yeah, she was
Yeah.
a bit better than Charles, poking a sausage with the tongs in Australia or wherever it was last time. I mean, listen, it has been a very busy period for both Kate and William recently, but what was very interesting this week is that they've been at Balmoral.
That sort of raised some eyebrows. People were saying, well, why are they there? those I've spoken to say it was just a weekend away, and you know, ordinarily when they are in Windsor, it is usual for at least one night a week for all of them, that's the Waleses and the King and the Queen, to be there for at least one night. So, yeah, interesting
This
that they were there.
struck me as a summit, surely. I mean, listen, I don't think we haven't escaped this, but if the future King and Queen are getting around the table with the current King and Queen, there's no children around, and as you say, Balmoral is that sanctuary. There's lots of people that come and go throughout the summer, but this was a very, very different meeting.
I agree with you. It does strike me that if the Prince and Princess of Wales travelled there, leaving the children back in Berkshire, probably with Granny and Grandpa Middleton, that they were there to have conversations. We know obviously that the King and Queen are heading off to Australia and Samoa for the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting next month, and there is an awful lot to talk about after you know the events of the last 9 months. They weren't trying to hide it clearly, because they wouldn't have gone to church had they not wanted to be seen there. But yes, I think there have been some serious roundtable discussions going on between the King and his heir.
Lots more still to come on the Royal Beat collection, but first, find out what else you could watch on True Royalty TV. Discover the parallels between Prince Harry's mother and wife in Diana and Meghan, Royal History Repeating. Find out how the royal family has evolved in the last century and how it will continue to change in the future of the monarchy. Relive the Wales' love story and happy ever after in Kate, the Making of a Princess. You can get this and more only on True Royalty, the home of Royal TV. You're watching the Royal Beat collection.
This week marked the start of Holyrood Week, where the monarch would traditionally spend a week based at the Palace of Holyrood House in Scotland. However, this year it's been condensed down to 2 days because of the general election. So, Russ, what have we missed out of this week of actually, you know, activities that actually these guys really look forward to, don't they?
Yeah, very much so. And I think you see the King and the Queen have been out and about this week, and King's been rather enjoying himself. It's good to see, because obviously it's been a quite tumultuous time for him and the rest of the family because of his cancer diagnosis. But he looked in fine form, and I think that Holyrood Week, or Royal Week as it's known, is to celebrate the great and the good, all sort of the charities, all the organisations that they have an affiliation with. And yeah, it has been condensed down.
It's impacting pretty much everything. It's a really sensitive time, isn't it, Elsa?
Absolutely.
But one you'll know that this week in particular was one that was particularly significant and important in the Queen's diary, wasn't it?
Absolutely, and she used to pack a lot in, and it was one of those events that she always looked forward to on an annual basis. You know, whether it be a garden party or the Thistle service.
Okay, what is the Thistle service?
Oh, it's the Order of the Thistle, which is the kind of the most senior chivalry order in Scotland. And the King is allowed to, it's his personal gift who joins the club as such. So he gets to decide who becomes a member of the Order of the Thistle. So William joined in 2012, which was the late Queen's Diamond Jubilee year, and Elsa remember that. And then we've had the Duke of Edinburgh and the Queen joining the Order this week. So they were officially kind of installed in that service at St Giles Cathedral.
And we also saw Camilla host her own reception. What was this for? Do we know?
Well, this was a big, you know, sort of centring on her love of literacy, and we had sort of fantastic writers from Edinburgh. So Ian Rankin was speaking, you know, very, very fondly of the Queen, saying that she's a fantastic ambassador for, you know, people of all ages, especially children, to get into reading.
He was full of praise as well, wasn't he, Ian Rankin? Yeah. Because he was sort of saying it expands all ages, but also he was essentially saying the Queen's not a snob about what you read as well.
Absolutely, it's
so
classless.
Whether it's kind of comic books or she doesn't, you know, give a fig what you're reading. She just wants kids, anyone of any age, to pick up a book and enjoy it.
It's also the 900th anniversary of the city of Edinburgh, so that's obviously got to be a cause for celebration. How will they be marking that?
Well, that was a great moment, wasn't there, this week when they went to the service at Edinburgh Castle, and they were shown sort of local fare, sort of food and drink from local kind of producers, let's say, and they tried some whiskey. And Camilla said, "Oh, that hits the spot."
True to form.
Enjoyed it, and I think that, you know, they really threw themselves into it. But those light moments, I think, really show how they really do love Scotland and they really love everything about it.
Are they allowed any time off this summer?
Well, I imagine they will be. I mean, there's been an awful lot happening this year, isn't there? So they need a bit of downtime, perhaps.
And also, of course, the King is still having treatment for cancer,
sure,
so he needs a bit of downtime. But I was looking at that, so I've stayed at Balmoral Castle many times, and sort of to the left here is Queen Victoria's old schoolhouse, where her children used to be schooled, and they've still got the desks and tables and chairs in the loft where her children were homeschooled. It's absolutely amazing.
What is family life like at Balmoral? What's the mood?
It's very relaxed, even the way people dress. So the private secretary will wear a tweed jacket and a shirt and tie rather than a formal suit. People will wear kilts. It's much more informal. I remember sort of sitting in the office working on a document, and I heard this tap on the window, and it was the Queen knocking with her corgis on her way for a walk, and I just thought, it was just extraordinary. I couldn't even have time to curtsy or anything. It just so. I mean, it is very, very informal, much less formal. But there's still the head of state work to go. So the Queen would still have done a red box every day. She still has her audiences with the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister comes for the weekend. She'll see other heads of state. So it's still, the mechanism of the Constitution still go on.
But with slightly lower shoulders,
Absolutely.
Shoulders drop.
Someone said to me,
the
as soon as the Queen, she puts her crown metaphorically on the gate as she drives through.
That's all we've got time for on this episode of the Royal Beat Collection, but do keep the conversation going on socials. Just search True Royalty TV and make sure you listen to the Royal Beat podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for watching. See you next time.